All right. We're going to go to 4.
And they said to each other, this only betokens a child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands.
So have we heard some kind of story like that where some wise men looked up in the sky and had a prophecy based on what they saw in the sky?
God, we'll do a Yahushua.
Hallelujah. Well, we see that it was with this child as well. And we see that it's the child of Terah. So we already saw whose father Terah is. Let's go to 35 and 36.
And Terah took Abraham, his son, secretly together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And the Lord was with Abraham in the cave, and he grew up. And Abraham was in the cave 10 years. And the king and his princes, soothsayers and sages, thought that the king had
killed Abram.
Oh, killed Abram.
Yeah, sorry, that was a little disjointed. So there was a prophecy, and so the king in this situation is Nimrod, because again, this is Babylon. So the king wanted to, just like they wanted to kill Yahushua. So this is another situation where you can see the Bible repeats itself over and over and over again. And this is also how Yahushua says throughout the book, it is written of me, because it tells his story over and over and over and over again. So we see that even though Yahushua on earth comes later on, this is similar to that situation there. Nimrod wanted to kill him. So Terah actually did some trickery without going into it. He took one of his servants, his female servant's babies, and gave it to Nimrod. And Nimrod thought he was giving him Abram, the prophesied child. And Nimrod dashed that baby's head against a stone and killed him. Cruel Nimrod, boy. So what Terah did was he actually hid his family. He hid Abram in a cave for 10 years. He hid him, and he brought him provisions every month. But he hid him in a cave all of that time. Let's go to Jasher 9, 4 through 6. Jasher chapter 9, 4 through 6.
Haran. Okay.
Haran was Terah's brother, actually, and Lot's father. But go ahead.
Haran was 42 years old when he begat Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And those days Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. And when Abraham came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instructions of the Lord and his ways. And no man knew where Abraham was, and Abraham served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time.
So hold up. Abraham went to be raised by who?
Noah and Shem.
Noah and Shem. So sometimes we think about, some of these ancestors and just think that we don't hear about them anymore after a certain point in Genesis, let's say. But we have to understand that they lived for hundreds of years back then. So many of them crossed paths. So Abraham, born centuries after them, actually went back to live and to learn from Noah and Shem. That was crazy the first time I saw that. I was like, what? Pretty exciting, actually. All right, let's go to 6.
And Abraham was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abraham knew the Lord from 3 years old. And he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Lord, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Lord who had created them in the earth. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak nor deliver. And the sons of the men served them, and they became their gods.
God. So we're seeing how things just kind of course, they continue to go off the rails. And at this point, people were no longer listening, because at a certain point, Shem was teaching a lot of people. And so obviously over time, folks lost it and they went astray, including some of Shem's sons.
Genesis chapter 14, verse 12. And they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abraham. Mm-hmm. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan.
So basically, some wars waged out with some other kingdoms. They conquered Sodom, and they took Lot captive and took all of his stuff with them. So somebody escaped from that and came and told Abram, and Abram had some warrior servants, basically. So, because again, our forefathers were not punks. Don't believe these images of people floating around, on clouds and all this other stuff that they try to put us on. Us. Our forefathers and our foremothers were brave and intelligent people as well. So he had 318 trained servants that he was like, we're going to go and deal with this issue. And we also see that he called Lot his brother. And again, technically, brothers and sisters, but also Lot is of the lineage of his brother. So that's why he also referred to Lot as his brother. All right, we're going to skip down to 16. Skip down to 16.
Verse 16. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people.
So Abraham and his group went and kicked some tail, and they came back and brought and got everything, and got all the goods back and everything else. Right. All right. Let's do 18 through 20.
Verse 18. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abraham of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which had delivered thy enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all.
So we see that Abraham went to war, and he came back with the spoils of war. And not only did he have the spoils of war, he gave a tithe of those spoils to Melchizedek, the king of Salem. Has anyone heard of Melchizedek before? Khan. So we also see here, let me see here if it says in this. So Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he brought forth bread and wine. So they're having a little bit of a feast. Is that correct? After the war, a little bit of a feast and a celebration. Does that make sense?
Khan always.
We see that. So Melchizedek was eating with him, right?
Yep.
Eating and drinking with him, and he certainly gave him some goods. So he gave him some goods. So anyway, let's take a look at let's go back to Jasher now. We're gonna go to Jasher 16. Jasher 16, 6 through 8. Get this on the screen. The book of Jasher 16. Book of Jasher chapter 16, 6 through 8. And we're gonna see some account. All right, let's go.
And
And they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And they also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his property. And they seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom. And they went away. And eunuch, Abram's servant, who was in the battle, saw this and told Abram all that the kings had done to the cities of Sodom, and that Lot was taken captive by them. And Abram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men that were with him. And he that night pursued these kings and smote them, and they all fell before Abram and his men. And there was none remaining but the 4 kings who fled, and they went each his own road.
So we see again the account of this war around Sodom, and how these kings took the things, took Lot, kidnapped Lot, took all of his stuff, other people's stuff as well. And we see that again, Abram came with his 318 men. So we're seeing the same thing, right? So are we sure that this is the same account? Does it sound like the same?
Also, King, they warred against these 4 kings, these 4 kingdoms, which was way more soldiers than the soldiers that Abraham took. They were servants, but they was trained soldiers, ready to go. So I know that I believe, just from the spirit that's on me, that the Most High empowered those men, empowered Abraham to go in and thrash tens and thousands, or however many men that was in the war, because we always did this.
God.
All of the kingdoms, all of the great men of the Most High, we were conquerors because we was under the banner of Yahweh.
So you're 100% right. So I can't remember what account it's in. I'm not sure if this is in Jubilees or not, and I'm not sure if it's this war. I believe it was, but it was his 318 against about 10,000.
Con.
So they whipped about 10,000 people. So absolutely, we know that Yah was behind empowering them, because again, our people are more powerful. Look, they fear us for a reason, and it's because of the Father that we have and the King that we have. So 100% correct. So we do see that this is the same war. So we're reading about the same account. All right, let's go to verse 8.
And Abram recovered all the property of Sodom, and he also recovered Lot and his property, his wives and little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lot lacked nothing.
Con. Now we're making sure that we're seeing the same thing. Now let's do 11 and 12.
And Adonizedek, how do you say that name?
Adonizedek.
And Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, the same with Shem, went out with his men to meet Abram and his people with bread and wine, and they remained together in the valley of Melech. And Adonizedek blessed Abram, and Abram gave him a tenth from all that he had brought from the spoil of his enemies, for Adonizedek was a priest before Yahweh.
God, so is this standing out to anybody right now?
Yeah, same thing as Leviticus with the priests. You give 10% of what the Israel had to the Levites.
God, well, that's true. So we have a little precedent, right? Because tithe means 10. But also look at this. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. Right? What does it say before? I don't know. What does this say? Melchizedek, king of Salem. They both brought forth bread and wine. Is that what we're saying? Came forth with bread and wine. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. And who was Adonizedek? Who was Adonizedek?
Shem?
The same was Shem. So who was Abram raised by?
Shem and Noah.
Absolutely, Noah and Shem. So we see that Melchizedek was the king of Salem. All right. Let's see. I looked it up. Let me see here. Salem. All right, because we see Salem right here. Melchizedek, the king of Salem. But look this up on the blue letter. I might have to blow this up some. So Salem right here. We see Salem, right? Clicking on the Strong's Concordance here. I might have to blow this up a little bit. But Salem, peace. Salem, peace. The place of which Melchizedek was king. Salem, peace. Similar to Shalom, right? Is this starting to sound familiar? Am I talking to myself up this joint, man? Hey, what's going on? I can do that when I'm by myself, which I do quite often, as a matter of fact. So we see again, Melchizedek was king of Salem, right? King of peace, right? And it says that he was let me see here, a priest of the Most High God. Now let's look at Adonizedek. This is actually a different Adonizedek later on, but we can still glean from it because he was also king of Jerusalem, but it's not the same one. All right. So what we want to see is Jerusalem. We'll look at the Strong's Concordance for Jerusalem and see what it says. Of course, Yerushalayim it would be the way that you.
Strong's H3389. Yerushalayim.
So again, we know that
Yerushalayim.
no J back then.
Second entry.
All right.
Yerushalayim.
What's this dude doing?
Yerushalayim.
All right, dude, that's enough. All right. So again, Jerusalem, teaching of peace. So we see that this is still saying the same thing, peace. All right. So we have Melchizedek, king of Salem, which is peace. And then we have Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, again, reference to peace. And we see that the same was Shem. So who was Melchizedek? Who was Melchizedek?
My brain's combusted.
You lost? All right. So we have Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. He was the same with Shem, right?
Okay.
That's what it says, right? The same with Shem. Adonizedek is Shem, the same person. This is just a different name because people went by different names many times. Many times people have multiple names. So another name for Shem was Adonizedek. He was a priest of the Most High, because that's what it says here. Let me see. He was a priest, and for Adonizedek was a priest before God, right? So we see the same thing being said about Melchizedek, king of Salem, Jerusalem. Are we seeing some resemblance here?
Jerusalem.
God.
Everyone.
He brought forth bread and wine. Adonizedek brought forth bread and wine. Are we seeing that this is the same person?
For the most part, yes.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to sound like I was wrong.
People
but I'm
scared to say it.
Yeah. I didn't want to sound wrong.
Melchizedek and Melchizedek, they were the same.
And who are they?
Shem.
They the priest of the Most High God. They priest of peace of the Most High God.
Absolutely. And what do most people? What's the name that most people know him by? Well, they don't know him by Shem.
Yeah.
Melchizedek is Shem. Melchizedek is Shem. Is Shem. So,
it's a blower, man, because when you're a person that's seeking knowledge, and I've learned a lot just through this short segment of time that we've been on, but it everything is connecting, King. It's making sense. Like, if we're not going to do this, if we're not going to make the sacrifice, we're not going to know this. No one is going to know this because they're not seeking it out.